you guys doing? Good. Where are you guys from? England. Which part? Okay. All right. So you guys are kind of used to the dry desert then, right? Not so much. Yeah, that's fine there. Buckled in back there. Where are you guys from? Manchester. How about you guys? Where? London. All right. So you guys are all from England. You guys all know each other then, right? Small place, right? You're all neighbors. All right, guys. Well, my name's Mike. I'm gonna be your pilot today. I'm gonna get you guys out to the Grand Canyon and back. That's the important part, right? Well, guys, a little history about me. I was a military helicopter pilot for about 15 years, but I always flew. I flew attack helicopters. I flew Apaches my whole career in the Army, so this is quite a bit different doing this, which I don't mind at all. And the big reason is, we don't get shot at doing this, and then I get to go home every night, so it's a little bit nicer gig here. Well, guys, we're going to go out by the Hoover Dam. We'll get a good look at that thing, and then we'll fly by Lake Mead for 20 minutes till we get to the canyon. Once we get out there, we'll land down the bottom. We have a little picnic area out there, so we'll have a little snack and refreshment for you guys and spend about a half hour out there. If anybody does get the feeling a little wheezy on the flight out or the flight back, we do have these little souvenir bags. Some behind the front seat there for you guys in the back. We call those souvenir bags because if you fill one of these up, you get to keep it as a souvenir. Shouldn't need it today. It's a little breezy. Not here. It's actually pretty nice here. It's a little breezy in the canyon, but it's actually a pretty good flight out there and back. All right, guys, I'm going to be on the radio in just a couple of minutes. Get us clear of the airport, and then I'll be back on the radio with you as soon as we get clear here. All right, guys, we're going to be on the go here. That's terrible.
how you feel. You got to roll with the punches and get the what's real. Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the wrecking machine. I ain't the ones that you see. Can't you see what I mean? Well, jump. Might as well jump. Go ahead, jump, jump. Go ahead, jump. Oh, how you? Who said that? Baby, how you been? You're saying you'll never know, you won't know until you begin. Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the wrecking machine. I ain't the ones that you see. Can't you see what I mean? Might as well jump, jump. Go ahead, jump.
All right, guys, we got clear the airport there. You look out in front of us, you can see a couple of low spots in the ridge line up there. You see some water down on the other side. That's the first part of Lake Mead that we're going to be flying by out there. Lake Mead's it's a big, big lake. Stretches across the desert there a long, long ways. 3 different basins to this lake. This is the Boulder Basin. We'll fly by all of it, though, before we get to the canyon. Once we get over the ridge line here, though, you guys will see the Hoover Dam and the new bypass bridge. Be down here to the front right. So make a little right-hand turn when we get out here. We'll work our way out to the river, and then once we get to the river, I'll make a big S-turn back up around the Hoover Dam there. Get it out both sides of the helicopter so everybody can get a pretty good look at it. Anybody done the tour down in the Hoover Dam? No? That's a really cool tour to do if you have the time. I know everybody's kind of time limited, you know, in Vegas, but take you, half a day or so to come out and go down through the dam. But it really does give you some perspective on how big the Hoover Dam is. I know flying around it up here, you're like, oh, that's pretty small, but it changes your mind when you do the tour down in it. Down there, that thing, it's about as thick at the bottom in concrete as it is tall. Down in the dam. They have quite a few informational videos going on down in there, you know, as you walk through it. One of the videos down in there tells you that there's enough concrete in that dam to build a 2-lane highway from San Francisco to New York City. So there's a coast-to-coast highway in cement down there. You guys get a pretty good look at the high water mark here, too. You know, that big white ring. Pretty easy to see it in the channel, you know, coming up to the dam there. So you got a few boats out here, so kind of good. Gives you a little reference on that thickness of that white ring. be able to see the dome at the top of this thing. You know, these extinct volcanoes like this, they typically always bubble up in the middle like that, and they'll form a little cauldron down in there, but typically they're a lot deeper than this one, which, you know, this one kind of blew the top off of itself the last eruption it had.
Well, it's alright, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's alright, if you live the life you please. Well, it's alright, doing the best you
Low
can.
ground in the ridge line up here in front of us.
As long as you lend a hand.
That's called Indian Pass, and the pioneers actually came through it quite a bit, you know, in the 1800s, heading out west. Once in a while, though, they'd get ambushed by the Indians out here, so that's how this place ended up with the name. So, you know, we had the gold rush going on in California, you know, in the 1850s out here. So, you know, there was a lot of people coming from back east back then, you know, trying to get out west, make their fortune. But we didn't sign any treaties with the Indians until like the 1890s, you know. So there's a lot of years people traveled out this way that really wasn't that safe. Out here on this side of Indian Pass, you guys get a pretty good idea what the Mojave Desert's all about. Mojave Desert's a big, big place, too. 25,000 square miles of it. Most of the Mojave Desert, though, is in California. You know, back behind us, that's where, you know, Death Valley and all that is. It's all part of the same desert. We're flying over here.
Purple haze. Well, it's alright, even when push comes to shove. Well, it's alright, if you got someone to love. Well, it's alright, everything will work out fine. Well, it's alright, we're going to the end of the line.
Don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. I'm just glad to be here, happy to be alive. And it don't matter if you're by my side. I'm satisfied.
Yeah, this big body of water out here to the front left, this is the Virgin River Basin. This is the biggest part of the lake. But you know, Lake Mead itself is the largest man-made lake in the United States. Weird looking lake, though, to me. And I don't know about you guys, but you know, most of the lakes I've ever seen, they had trees around them. And, you know, you think, too, as big as this lake is, there's like, I don't know, there's almost 800 miles of shoreline around this thing. You think we'd have a tree out here somewhere, but there's a few bushes, a few willows around the edge of that thing. Not even very many of those, though. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, if you had sand. Well, there's some sandy beaches out here. Not much, but a lot of this stuff is, you know, a lot of clay mixed in with sandstone, limestone, you know, pretty rugged stuff.
Oh, there's a river that winds on forever. I'm gonna see where it leads. Oh, there's a mountain that no man mounted. I'm gonna stand on a peak. Out there's a land that time don't command. Wanna be the first to arrive. No time for pondering why I'm wondering on where we both survive.
Yeah, this basin that we're flying across here, pretty hazy today, so visibility's not great, but this basin, it runs north and south through here a long ways. There's hundreds and hundreds of miles of this basin, actually. And it was used a lot, you know, back in the day. The pioneers traveled north and south in this thing, and then, you know, the Pony Express actually used it a lot. They had a whole bunch of different routes that ended up coming through this basin. It's a lot easier to travel in the low ground, you know. One of the routes I read a little bit about was the Los Angeles to Salt Lake City route. That one was over 600 miles. So it said it took those guys an average of 10 days to ride that route. And that was trading out horses, you know, every 10 to 15 miles up through there. Kind of depended on, you know, where they had water. But they did keep fresh horses under those guys. And then, of course, they would trade out the riders, you know, like every half a day. So, you know, they made the best time they could back then. They didn't know any different. They thought that was pretty fast.
First part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain.
Hey guys, look up to the north. You can see up the Overton arm of the lake there. That's the largest arm of Lake Mead, and it does run up there a long way, about 20 miles. And that's where the Virgin River and the Buddy River out of Utah, you know, run in up there. Pretty small rivers. We do get a little bit of water from them down here, but, you know, by the end of summertime like now, they're pretty much dried up after our hot summers down here. So most of the water here in the lake comes from the Colorado River up here. It dumps into the Great Basin, and we'll see that when we get over the next little ridge line.
After 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed, and the story it told of a river that flowed made me sad to think it was dead. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La, 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 la,
You guys can see this little marina down here to the front right. It's called Temple Bar, and it's actually a pretty secluded little place out here. Takes you, it's a good hour and a half drive, you know, to get out here from Vegas. But, yeah, there's a motel, there's a restaurant, all that stuff down there. The mobile home park you can see down there, too. It's pretty good size, and that place gets pretty busy in the wintertime, you know. Pretty mild weather here in Arizona, you know, in the winter. So there's a lot of people from up north that'll come down here for a few months. Call them snowbirds, you know. They'll wait for the snow to melt up north before they head back home. But, you know, if you like to go boating, fishing, stuff like that, probably a pretty good place to come and hang out for a month or two. You know, really good fishing out here. They catch a lot of striped bass out here. That's what most people go fishing for. But there's, you know, there's trout, crappie, catfish, all that stuff out here too.
to give you no pain.
See a lot of erosion going on out here in the desert too. You know, you look under that mountain there to the left, you see all those big washes coming down toward the lake. You know, when you see that stuff, you think, geez, we must get a lot of rain out here, you know, to cause all that erosion. We don't. We get 4 to 5 inches of rainfall a year out here, so very, very little rain. So, you know, you guys probably get that in a day. But here, we'll get a lot of it in a day because in the monsoon season out here, we get those big thunderstorms that build up in the afternoons, you know, and then every now and then you get that big cloud burst out of one of them, and it'll come down in bucket loads, you know, in like 20, 30 minutes. So the desert doesn't have a chance of soaking it in, so that's what it does.
Long as I remember, rain been coming down, clouds of mist drift over, confusion on the ground. Put me through the ages, trying to find the sun, and I wonder.
the Grand Canyon up there in front of us. Be in it here in just a little bit. Old place, a lot of theories, tons of theories about the Grand Canyon. You know, a lot of interesting ones nowadays too. But I think most scientists stick with the sediment theory. You know, it was all washed out by water over millions of years, which they used to say hundreds of millions. And there was a study out here a few years ago said the Grand Canyon was only 6 million years old. So there's a big difference in opinion, on how old that place is. Which for us it doesn't matter. I mean. We're here maybe 100 years, so we don't know the difference between 6 million or 600 million anyway. So it's an old place. So it's kind of neat out there. One thing you guys will see when we land out there at our spot, if you look around on the ground, you'll see a lot of ocean coral, petrified ocean coral out there. They say it's been under the ocean like 5 times. Last little body of water here. This is a Greg Basin. Smallest part of the lake, but it is where the Colorado River comes in. You can see the muddy water coming in over here to the left. Out here to the front right, top of the plateau over there, see quite a few buildings, a little community out there. That's called Meadview, and there's actually about 2,000 people living out in there. Don't know why, for sure. Really, I don't know what's out here. The closest town to that place is Kingman, Arizona. Kingman's about 60 miles to the south. Down there, so yeah, I don't know. I guess if you like solitude, but you don't have any real major services out here. There's no hospital or anything out here, so drive 60 miles if you need to go to the hospital. At the very end of the plateau, down here to the front left, you can see a couple of dirt runways form a big X on the ground down there. That's called Pierce Ferry Airfield. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Thelma and Louise, but at the end of that movie, those two gals, they drive a car off a cliff. Well, they filmed that right down at the end of the plateau down there. They actually drove that car right up into space out there. There's quite a bit of filming of that movie right out here in the desert, too. Guys, we're going to climb up here, get you on top of the Grand Wash Cliffs, get into the mouth of the Grand Canyon. You can see exactly where it is now because you got the Colorado River coming out of it down there. And you start seeing some of that red sandstone we have out here in the upper part of the canyon. Gives it a little different color than the rest of the desert. Yeah, the Grand Canyon is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Which there's a lot of wonders of the world out there nowadays. You know, you look on the internet, geez, I couldn't even tell you how many different lists of wonders of the world, or a whole bunch of them. Which that's okay. You know, there's a lot of neat stuff out there. One of the kind of interesting stats about the canyon here, you know, of the millions and millions of people that come and see the Grand Canyon every year, less than 20% of them ever get a chance to see it from below the rim. Because most people, you know, they drive out or take the bus tours out or something. You know, they get out to the edge of the canyon and, you know, walk out there and look down in it. You guys kind of see it that way too. You know, as we fly in here, you can look down the bottom of this thing. But once we get up here to our spot, we're going to be landing down there. So a little different perspective when you get down the bottom and look back up. Makes you feel pretty small, actually, in a great big place like this. Yeah, the canyon, it ends right there to the left. That's where the river comes out of it. To get to the other end of the canyon, you know, where the river comes in, you got to go upstream from here, 277 miles. That's about 500 kilometers to the other end of this thing. You go to the south rim of the canyon, which is about 100 miles upstream from here. There's parts of the canyon in that area over 20 miles wide. And then on the north rim, you got places of the canyon up there 6,000 feet deep. Vegetation in the canyon walls there. It gives it that greenish tint, you know, when you look way out there. But that's the color that it is here on the west rim of the canyon every single day. Doesn't even matter what time of year you come out here. This end never changes.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Now you guys see a bunch of buildings, some structures and stuff out here on top of the canyon here to the front right. You know, the Wallapai Indian tribe, they actually own all that out there to the right. And actually the reservation, it goes down to the river. That side of the river is national park, but this side is owned by the Indians. And that's why we can land down here where we're going to land. It's not national park. We just obviously got to pay these guys a lot of money to land down here, but hey, they got the only game in town, so good for them. They ended up with something out here, but you know, they bus people out here all day long. And people walk out on the pathways there, they stand on top of that little knob and stuff to see some people out there taking a look down into the canyon.
To myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself.
You know, right around this next point here to the right. If you guys look up on top of the canyon, you're going to see what they call the skywalk. Big plexiglass platform sticking out of a building up there. There you can see it right there. That thing's made out of plexiglass, so like I say, you walk out there and you can look straight down between your feet down the bottom of the canyon.
Down the mighty Colorado, and as I read about their journey, I couldn't help but feel a very similar yearning to Mr. Powell. And I wish that I could have been there with him. The way he talked about the river, I could tell the revelations he must have found within himself. The realization of what man's supposed to do, I feel it too.
Couple of boat docks down there on the right-hand side of the river. Wallapai Indians, they give boat rides down there. They fly people in and out of there throughout the day. Get you on a boat, take you on a 15-20 minute boat ride.
As they move right over the way, as they look right over the way, the river flows its way through canyons that were so high that the clouds would float within them. Cascade fountains moss surrounded onto a gorge, grand beyond description, the river rolls. Like a whirlpool, it sets my mind to spinning. Can you imagine walls of way so high? The sky would be nothing more than a single clear line. Rocks would rainbow their way up to the sky as they glide over the wind. As they glide over the wind, you hear them sing, sing, sing.
All the big canyon walls, canyon cliffs out here, all this desert terrain. If it looks a little familiar, you know, you could have saw something like it if you ever watched any of the old John Wayne westerns or Clint Eastwood western movies. I actually used to use the Grand Canyon in those old films quite a bit. They don't use it much anymore, but they used to. Nowadays, I think if they need the Grand Canyon, they just green screen it, you know, a little easier. Well, guys, I'm going to let this thing cool off here for about 30 seconds, and we'll get shut down here. We're going to set up a little table back here to our right rear, have a little snack or refreshment for you guys here. I'll get some shade set up. Like I say, we'll be here about a half an hour, guys. I'll let you know when we have around 10 minutes left out here. If I don't forget, I usually forget that part. I'll let you know sometime before we gotta get out of here. Oh, the little yellow things you guys have on, those little flotation devices. If you guys want to leave those here in the helicopter, you can. You don't have to wear those around out here. It's not gonna rain on us. We haven't had anybody drowned out here anyway in like 8 months, so. Alright guys, when we leave here, we're going to go straight up the canyon right ahead of us here.
I believe we can reach the morning light.
Alright guys, we'll be on the go here.
Chief, ooh, they brought the cannon at you now.
canyon, you guys get a little closer look at some of the really red sandstone. We don't have a lot of it down here on the western. Most of the really red sandstone is on the north rim, on the other end. So there's red layer. As you go to the east, it gets really, really thick. Up on this upper plateau, we see a lot of wildlife. Elk, deer, antelope, you name it. It's all kinds of wildlife. But even a lot of little wild pigs, the javelinas. But that's a road brings you up here to the Skywalk, so if you decide you want to drive up here, like I say, from Vegas, about 3-hour drive in your car. About 3 years ago, you see where the road changes colors down there at that cattle guard. All that black road down through there, about 15 miles of it. Well, they just paved that about 3 years ago. That used to be all dirt road. So if you drove up to the Skywalk back then, it was a terrible drive. Dirty and dusty, bumpy. Yeah, it was awful. You ever watch that show Breaking Bad? I always think about that when I see that camper right down there. I saw the guy bring that camper in there about a year ago, and that's the last time I've seen anybody there. I know they're using it, because you can see cracks and stuff, but I've never seen anybody else come out at night or something. I don't know. Suspect to me.
Turning on
plateau up here. This is all still part of the Indian reservation up here. The high ground at the very end of the plateau out here, the front left, the Indians call that Spirit Mountain. And the reason is there's actually an old burial ground out there, which, you know, a lot of the Indian tribes, they kind of did the same stuff. You know, they would bury their dead up on high points like that so that, you know, the spirits could have a nice view. And it is a nice view from up here. It's just really hazy out here today, so you can't see very far. But boy, on the clear days, you can see as far as you want to from up here. Get another look at Meadview down here. You know, Meadview's actually, it's not that odd of a place. You know, you get west of the Mississippi River, you know, here in the United States, and there's a lot of states out this way that have a lot of empty space in them, you know, so consequently we do have a lot of small towns, small communities, you know, strung out all over the west. There's thousands of them. I mean, we have some big cities and stuff too out west, but there's just a lot of people out there. You know, they don't want anything to do with living around the city. You know, they want to get as far away from the big population centers as they can. You know, so they live in places like this.
Well, I was born in a small town, and I live in a small town. All my friends in a small town. My parents live in the same small town. My job is a small town, and that's a little opportunity. Educated in a small town. Jesus in a small town. Used to daydream in that small town. Another foreign romantic as me. But I've seen it all in a small town.
You know, from this end of the lake too, you know, you can see two of the three basins at the same time from here. Coming out the way we did, you know, coming west to east, you can only see one basin at a time, so you get a little better idea, actually, how far that lake goes across the desert here. You know, down below us, too, you see all these little roads and trails down here. A lot of these things, they go to some old mines, old mine shafts and stuff, which all these ridge lines out to, you know, this part of the state, they're loaded with old abandoned mines. There's actually a lot of gold mining, you know, went on out here years ago. There's still a little bit going on. You know, there's still some little operations going here and there. And, you know, we still hear stories about people out in the desert, you know, looking around for gold, and they'll find, you know, 1 2 ounce gold nuggets. Because a lot of people that come out here, you know, they come out to ride their motorcycles and four-wheelers and all that when they go camping, you know, in the spring and the fall when the weather's nicer. But they'll always bring your little metal detectors and stuff with them, too. You know, might as well do a little prospecting while you're out here.
Got nothing against the big town. Still hayseed enough to say look who's in the big town. But my bed is in a small town. Oh, that's good enough for me. I was born in a small town, and I can breathe town. Going down in a small town. Oh, that's probably where they bury me.
Go across the desert out here too. You know, we're going to cross over a few of these dirt roads you see going through the desert. See the one going to the right goes out to the down to the lake there. And I say we'll see some more out here. You can kind of see them, you know, going through the desert out here. But and it really doesn't matter what desert you're in either. You know, you could be in Texas, Wyoming, New Mexico, or whatever. You know, you see these dirt roads going through the desert. One thing they'll all have in common is they're not very straight. You notice how they just they meander around a lot, these things. Well, that's because most of them started out being wagon trails. You know, wagons, you know, they would tip over pretty easy. So, you know, they had to kind of meander around, stay on level ground, you know, the best they could. And back then, you know, everybody followed wagon tracks, you know, so pretty soon you have a pretty good trail there, you know. And so nowadays when they come into these areas to make roads or get a road in somewhere, they just grade off the old trails. You know, they'll straighten them out a little bit so, you know, vehicles can get down them, but they're still pretty crooked. Out there, that's actually one of the only freshwater lakes around here anyway that I know of, actually in the whole Southwest that I know of that they do scuba diving in. The visibility is actually good enough out there that, you know, you can go scuba diving. The only thing, that's really cold water, you know, the top 10, you know, feet or so in the summer, you know, into the summer like now, it's okay, you can probably go swimming in and stuff, but you know, you get down 30, 40 feet out there, that's ice water out there, because it comes right off the Rocky Mountains, you know, off the snow belt up there, so it's pretty cold water. But most of the people that go scuba diving here, they'll go up the Overton arm of the lake out there, and they go about halfway up there. There's actually an old town up there that got covered up by water, you know, because when they built the dam, the government had to buy all this ground out here so they could flood it, you know, which the town of St. Thomas happened to be in the floodplain, so, you know, they had to buy out all the buildings and stuff. So there's still a whole bunch of old buildings and stuff up there still intact, you know, so that's where a lot of them go, kind of swim around up there, see if anybody left anything behind. NFL football, any American football or not, but there's a little ridge line here in front of us. You follow down south there, and there's a little sapling, then you got the one little peak. kind of all by itself down there, big boulder on top of it. Well, true story on how that little peak down there actually ended up with its name. And I don't know, it was around 12 years ago now. The guys that were flying out here a lot back then, they named that peak right after that halftime Super Bowl incident back then. They call it Janet Jackson Peak. She had that little wardrobe malfunction, during halftime entertainment. And the name stuck out here. Everybody uses that thing as a VFR checkpoint, out here in the desert, which it does make a really good one because you can see it from a long ways away. Still waiting on her to give us the official okay to put that on the map. I don't think that's coming. There's another one of those dirt roads going through the desert out here. On the run. Down the middle of that thing. We never get water here in the desert. Monsoon season even. We get some big storms and stuff going out here. You might get a little trickle of water coming down that thing for half a day or something, But this winter we had a ton of moisture, ton of storms, a lot of big storms down south here too. And so it ended up this winter we had about 4-day stretch here where we had a big bunch of water coming down that basin there. Looks like we had a little river going out here. So that was actually kind of neat. I mean, we like I say, we never see it. And the one thing about that stuff in the desert can hide anything. About 2 days after it stopped running water out here, it looked just like this. You'd never know we ever had water out here. And down here, you see this looks like a little trail out here, just a straight trail. There was actually a fence line down here. There's people that run cattle out here in the desert. Not much to eat out here, but they still run cattle. There's a big spring up this wash about 12 miles up there, and the ranchers, they actually run a line from that spring down the side of the wash here, and they put water tanks in about every 2 miles, up through there so that that the cattle don't have to walk so far to get a drink of water. So there's actually a little holding tank and stuff down here. You can see the kind of the road going to it down there. There's a little blue water tank down here. There's some cows down there too.
While upon I got no direction, we're out playing the same game.
Yeah, right down here you can see the cows kind of coming into that blue water tank right down here.
Just afraid to say the name. So caught up now in pretending. But what we're seeking is the truth. I'm just looking for a happy ending. All I'm looking for is you. Came upon me way long way. You're the reason I'm still here. Yeah. Not the one you were sent to say. Came upon me way long way. I wandered out into the water. Thought that I might drown. I don't know what I was after. Just know I was going down. That's when she found me. Not afraid anymore. She said, I always had you, baby. Just wait for you to find what you were looking for. You came upon me way long way.
big lava buttes actually up here in front. It's got this big flat top, and the one out beyond it looks like a little volcano. There's actually quite a few of these out around here. On the other side of the lake over there, there's a few of them over there too, but they're just vents. They're vents off of that big volcano that we saw over there by the Hoover Dam, you know. Those bigger volcanoes like that, they have a lot of vents around them. You know, it spews up a little lava here and there and create these things.
And it came upon me along the way. You're the reason I'm still here. Am I the one you were sent to save? And it came upon me way long way. Clouds broken, angels crying.
Okay, as we get to the top of the ridge line up here in front of us, pretty hazy, like I say, out there today, so we're probably not going to be able to see Mount Charleston out there west of Vegas. But, you know, down below us out here, you're going to be able to get a pretty good look at the Black Canyon, you know, a big lava flow out there that the Colorado River runs through. And we'll fly right over it, so we'll be able to see if there's any, you know, kayakers or rafters or anything out there today. Typically on the weekends, there is quite a few kayakers and stuff out there.
So we live out in our van, travel along across this land, me and you. And we'll end up hand in hand, somewhere down on the sand, just me and you. Just as free.
Yeah, it's kind of sucked in out there. We can't see Mount Charleston at all.
Yes, we'll ever be. Just as free.
But if you guys want to, you know, go try to see if you can see some UFOs or aliens or anything like that, you want to go out to Area 51 and take a look around. Well, you see that ridgeline out there in the haze out on the horizon there. Well, if you go over that ridgeline, about 70 miles out there on the other side, you'll be kind of out there about Groom Lake. That's where Area 51 is. So get over that ridgeline. No, you're going to run into a bunch of guys with guns out there. So they're not going to let you get very close. Yeah, I don't know what they do out there, but whatever it is, they definitely don't want us knowing about it.
Just as free.
Hey, you can see the river in the Black Canyon down here, out there to the left. There's some buildings and stuff down there on the corner. That's a little marina down there that they call Willow Beach. And that's where most of the float trips that go down the river, that's where they end up. So, you know, if you do a raft trip or kayak trip, most of the companies that do them, you know, they put you in up here by the Hoover Dam. And then you'll float down there. And that's about a 10, 11 mile float trip. Takes about a half a day. But once we get across the river up here, guys, we're going to be back in Nevada. We've been in Arizona pretty much the whole flight. So this is the border down here between the two states.
No, we don't have a lot of money. 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 All we need is love. We're free as we'll ever be. Just as free.
Not many floaters left out here in the river. They usually do everything in the mornings. But, yeah, the weekends it gets kind of busy out here.
chewing on a piece of grass, walking down the road. Tell me, how long you gonna stay here, Joe? Some people say this town don't look good in snow. You don't care, I know. Ventura Highway in the sunshine, where the days are longer, the nights are stronger than moonshine. You're gonna go, I know. There's a free wind that's blowing through your hair, and the days surround your daylight there. Seasons crying, no despair. Alligator lizards in the air, in the
Big shooting range right there to the right. They do a lot of competition shooting and stuff down there. But, you know, in Vegas, you guys probably seen the advertisements and signs and everything down there. They have a lot of indoor shooting ranges and stuff down there, you know. It's actually a big business there in Vegas because, you know, that's one of the cities in the U.S. I mean, we get more international travelers here than any other city in the U.S. There's about 40 million people a year come into Vegas that are not from the U.S., you know. So a lot of people never shot a gun, so if they want to go do that, you know, it's pretty easy for them to go do it down there.
Ventura Highway in the sunshine, where the days are longer, the nights are stronger than moonshine. You're gonna go.
Guys, we get about midfield up here. I'm going to be making a big right-hand turn. Come back in, land down there by our hangar. The wind kind of coming out of the south there, so we'll get on the ground down there. We'll get shut down again, and they'll have somebody from inside. They'll get you guys something to drink in there in the lobby if you'd like before you head back to the big city. You kind of see some of the buildings if you look through Railroad Pass up here to the front right. A little hazy out there, but you can still see them.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you have the
Alright, guys. So, do you guys know why we back into these parking places? Because we can. Can't do that in an airplane. Alright guys, I'll let this thing cool off here for just 15, 20 more seconds here. We'll get shut down here, get everybody out, get your land legs back underneath you. Everybody feeling okay? How you doing? Alright? Alright.